Total Degenerates podcast brought to you by Resilient Real Estate. We are on Zoom this week. As you can see, it's me, B, and we have special guests tonight. D. Hay in the house. What's up, Danny?
What's up, Degenerates? Long-time listener, first time on the pod. A little Jim Rome reference back in the day.
I love Jim Rome. We're on Zoom this week. We're going to break it up for you guys into, I think we mentioned 3 episodes, might end up being 2. We had a ton of college football, so that's what this first episode's gonna get you is all the action from this past week in week 4 of college football with the preview of week 5. Tons of stuff there, and then another episode we'll have the NFL and all the competition and all the stuff you love in that. But without further ado, let's get into some college football from the past week. Oh, we got drink of the day first. So Golden Rule drink of the day. B, thanks for reminding me. What do you got in your hand?
I got Big Wave. Kona Big Wave.
That's just kind of those things. What do you find? What do you got? You got in the house, right?
I always have these in the house, so.
I had some good stuff. D. Hay, do you got anything you're sipping on?
Yeah. We'll get into it later, but as a Bears fan, I had to go a little heavier. We got the Lagavulin Scotch whiskey. It's been a rough week, but we'll get into that later.
I got
I love that.
Blind Pig.
Nice.
Blind Pig, one of my favorites.
We drinking?
That's our Golden Road drink of the day. We'll be sipping on those throughout the day, brought to you by Golden Road. So, college football week 4. What a week. What an absolute week. And, we've been going on the theme that K. Morgan's been kind of rolling with the last few weeks, theme of the week. And the one that stuck out to me this week was upset. We had upsets all across the board that we're going to get into. We had some great games, and other teams take care of business. But I think for the most part, we got some other teams that we didn't really know about yet get exposed, and they get exposed. So let's start with K. Morgan's team, who also happens to be D. Haley's team, and Notre Dame Fighting Irish. They take care of business. Graham Mertz was terrible. They win 41-13. Close game about halftime. They kind of break it open late. A lot of turnovers for Graham Mertz. I think he had 4 picks. Four picks. D. Hay, as a Notre Dame fan, what was your kind of mindset going in? And then what was your kind of reaction from the game?
I expected a tougher game. It's a down year for Notre Dame overall, the roster and how they played. It is still weird to see a weak offensive line in Notre Dame. I can't get used to it every week. It throws me off. But I didn't expect it to be close the way it was. Like it was awful. The first half was awful. Quarterback play was just terrible. Nobody wanted the ball. It kind of had a feeling of like a good Outback Bowl. 2 teams that just like, why are we still playing football? Like, I guess we'll still watch. Who wants it more? But it was nice to see the defense kind of click late. And again, it could just be how bad Mertz is, finally just tossing it around, had some late picks. Or it could be the Cincy D coordinator finally bringing it together for everyone. But just still no faith. Like, I'll pick them every week, unless it's just that bad of a spread. But still no confidence. It's nice to grind out a win late, but the schedule coming up for Notre Dame is scary. So we'll see.
No, Notre Dame's schedule is hairy getting into it, and we're going to talk about that a little bit later. Let's talk about the other side of things with Wisconsin and what we saw out of them. They had a good showing week 1 against Penn State. Defense really showed up. I felt like they should have won that game. They made a little too many mistakes in the red zone late in that game. I thought they were the better team actually than Penn State in that particular game. Now, a couple weeks into it, that's not the case as far as everyone can see. B, what was your thoughts on Wisconsin in this game?
Wisconsin's defense still great. Cohen was able to kind of like dink and dunk chalk up the field, but when it mattered in the red zone, they couldn't convert. The defensive line was stout. I know like Notre Dame's O-line's a little weak this year, but Wisconsin got after him, got a ton of sacks. This score kind of indicated not what you saw. If you watched the game, you didn't see a 41-13 game. Got after the quarterback. They allowed a kick return touchdown and had a pick 6 late, which kind of boosted the stats a little bit there. But it all just lies on Graham Mertz. He's really bad, and that's it. I'm done with him. That's a wrap.
Also, one other quick thing. Bullshit on a neutral site game when you're playing jump around to start the fourth quarter. Get the fuck out of my face. That was
there was a lot of Wisconsin fans, which is kind of surprising. Notre Dame's closer. I mean, it's both. It's a short drive for both. It is to
Yeah.
Madison. To me, as an outsider, no dog in the fight. I thought Jack Cohen going down could have been a big, big loss, and it turned out not to be. He gets hurt. He doesn't come. He doesn't come back in the game. Graham Mertz kind of, that's his time to shine, and he just crumbles. And he's done it, all year for this team, and he continues to do it. So it's very alarming. But regardless,
Wisconsin has playmakers. They don't have the guy to give him the ball, and then the head coach got to go with him.
Yeah, and he did. We talked about this a few weeks on the pod, a few weeks ago, where I mentioned, he dug his own grave by not choosing Cohen and choosing Mertz instead. He chose the 5-star guy, and which I'm not necessarily blaming him, but this is what you're going to get, and this is kind of the Jack Cohen revenge game, and that's why I took Notre Dame last week. It didn't really turn out to be that because he got hurt. More turned out to be Graham Mertz exposed.
Yeah.
But regardless, good game. We'll talk about Notre Dame a little bit later in the pod. LSU gets past Mississippi State 28-25. We don't have a lot of high hopes for either of these teams. Surprising to me is LSU is not a great team, and no one really thought they would be the number 16 team in the country in the preseason AP poll. But this is a big win for them. Mississippi State was kind of on the borderline to just come off a really tough loss that they should have won. They should have been 3-0. But now LSU starting to win some games, maybe save Eddie O's job. Did you guys watch this game at all?
I watched the second half, which was kind of all Mississippi State trying to just surge back. So the fourth quarter is pretty interesting. I think if Michigan State played how they played in the fourth quarter of the full game, I don't think LSU even had a shot. But, regardless, they got the win.
Yeah, I watched a little bit of the first half, and it was because when I saw this game, it was like, well, who wants to keep their job more? Because whoever loses this game, that hot seat gets super hot.
Yeah.
And it was 7-3 at halftime. So I'm like, I'm done with this. Neither of them want their job. And B watched a great half because the second half went off. And it kind of hurt, like, no dog in the fight. I don't really care. But I honestly did think Mississippi State would pull it out. I was not expecting. I have no faith in LSU anymore, so I'm actually surprised they pulled it out. But, yeah, that hot seat just got a little hot over there in Mississippi State.
Surprising to me, I watched most of this game. Mike Leach is very disappointing. I really like Mike Leach too, so it's very alarming to see his offense really stutter the way they are in the SEC. LSU looked like the better team throughout the game. I felt like playmakers, they moved the ball better. They just couldn't really score. Mississippi State has really had trouble in all aspects. Their defense is an okay defense. They just really have no answer on offense. They have no really identity. They kind of want to spread the ball out. They kind of don't. Regardless, they're pretty much done. I don't really have high expectations for either team. I thought this was a big game, though, as Danny mentioned, to get both coaches on the hot seat. So we'll see where they go from here. Another SEC matchup, one of the biggest ones of the weekend, was Arkansas upsetting A&M 20-10. Is Arkansas for real?
I don't know. Texas A&M has had trouble the first 4 weeks of college football, moving the ball, getting Spiller involved. Their quarterback went down. They're on their backup. He cannot throw downfield. They average 4 yards a pass. Like, their offense is not good. So when the defense, who I thought was pretty elite, they gave up 10 early and then 10 the rest of the game. But the 10 in the first, that's it. That's game if you can't score.
I'm going to say they're for real only because they've been so bad for so long. I think it's good for college football if Arkansas is good again. Like, it's good to see. But in all honesty, I mean, I don't think so when they run the route in the SEC. I think they caught A&M off guard early. They punched them in the mouth real early. And after that, A&M's defense was kind of able to hold them in check, and they just never recovered. So after that big punch early, that quarterback had it dialed in. They just never recovered after that.
Yeah, it looked like A&M made a really good adjustment at halftime on the defense side of the ball, where they became really stout. They started shutting down the run. They were getting run all over in that first quarter, in the first half. Arkansas came in, ready to go. They came in.
Yeah, they were fired up.
They got a good coach. They have, he was been assistant for like 40-something years or something. They said like that. Yeah, just ridiculous. Their quarterback is good. He got banged up in this game. I think he's going to be able to go this week. But we've been kind of saying it on the pod the last few weeks that A&M's kind of a fraud. And we wanted to see more out of the offense. And I believe that the defense was elite. They're turning out to be good. I don't think elite's the right word for them. You don't give up 20 points in a neutral site to Arkansas, who was unranked, and
Yeah.
consider yourself elite. You can still
It's
be
true.
good, but I don't believe you're elite. They have a big test this week. We're gonna get into that game in a little bit later. But A&M, they're done, right? Like we have no
Yeah,
hope. For them.
that's a wrap.
They can't recover from that now.
Yeah, I don't agree, especially
I-
with the performances they were having. They were trending.
Yeah, exactly.
They'll probably lose
They were
another one,
trending
too,
to
yeah.
lose like this, and
Yeah.
I know they ranked Arkansas high, but I mean, one loss. Both these teams are. If Arkansas loses one time, both these teams are out of the top 10. It's not even
Yeah.
close.
Yeah, agreed. We had a Big 12 super upset. Baylor knocks off B's Iowa State Cyclones. B was all in on Iowa State early, preseason, bought in on this team. They have the pieces. Brock Purdy just not the guy.
Nah, he's not it, but I mean, they're having trouble outside of Brock Purdy. I mean, he played okay. They did what they're supposed to on offense. They gave Brees Hall the ball in all aspects of the game, passing, running. They gave him a ton of touches, and he scored. I think he scored every touchdown. But they gave up a kick return late when it was 21-16. So Baylor had a kick return late. It's just.
I think that killed them. I think the
Yeah.
kick return really killed that momentum of that game because Iowa State looked like they're kind of going to make a run right there.
Yeah.
They get a score and then they give that up, and it's kind of a backbreaker, and they never really recovered from it.
True. And then they scored to try to tie. Doesn't work out. I mean, it's tough. Football's a tough game. And Baylor's 3-0, they're not playing around no more. They look fired up, they're ready to play, but Iowa State has dropped a few games that kind of could be theirs in a sense. So it's a little bothering to me.
Yeah, Baylor came ready to play. I was kind of looking at their schedule. They really hadn't beat anybody of quality yet. This was their first big game. And I was impressed. I watched a lot of this game. And Baylor controlled it for most of it. Iowa State had a nice push at the end. I thought they were going to, big dog ranked team, thought they were going to do what they do at the end and squeak out a win like good teams do. But it just didn't happen. And Baylor was impressive. And I mean, as Iowa State, they're cooked. You lose an in-state rival, Iowa. Now you lose to Baylor. Like, you're done. And like B touched on it, dude, Hall went off. Motherfucker almost had 200 yards rushing.
Yeah.
Alone.
Yeah.
It's like, Purdy, do something, dude. Like, how is your back almost have 200 on the ground? Like, toss one in, two in? Like, come on.
And besides that, the problem I have with Iowa State is Baylor's not a Baylor of the past where they're offensive juggernaut and bad defense. They're opposite. They have a really good defense. They haven't had an ability to score the football as well as they did on Saturday. And Iowa State's defense is supposed to be one of the top tiers in the country, and they just haven't shown it. And they didn't show it in this game. I thought Iowa State was the better team, but I was wrong, because Baylor took every punch that Iowa State threw, and they punched right back. And I think Baylor's team we got to start talking about more in the Big 12 because the Big 12 is really weak right now.
Yeah, I mean,
Oklahoma
Baylor gets
great.
They don't, and Baylor gets ranked in the top 25, and they have a shot. They have a big game this week too.
Yeah, they have a shot, and we're going to talk about them later on the show. But credit to Baylor. Credit to Baylor. I don't think Iowa State played terrible, but credit to Baylor for this game.
Yeah.
The big one, NC State knocks off Clemson. They storm the field, 27-21 in overtime. What a game! Clemson offensive woes continue. DJ did okay. You want to say DJ looked okay? Their skill players are not good. They're just Dabo said at post game. They're just not a very good football team right now, and it showed. I mean, NC State knocks them off. They broke that streak. What was that streak of like a bazillion games they haven't
over 2 years at home or 3 years at home?
NC State beat a top 10 opponent and whatever it was. Clemson like 70 game win streak or something like that against ACC or something ridiculous. So, but credit to NC State in this game. They stormed the field, which was sweet. Gotta love the storm the field. But Clemson's done. They're ranked 25th now. I don't even think they deserve to be ranked 25th. We're going to preview their game this week as well. What were your thoughts from this game?
Leary, NC State quarterback, he balled out. Good for him. He made big throws late. He looked like the 5-star next #1 overall draft pick that DJ was supposed to be. And what concerns me for Clemson on the Clemson side is if you take away Justin Ross, I think he would have like 2 completions.
Yeah.
So I mean, he ran the ball, he used his feet better, like I was asking him to do last week when they almost dropped a game, but it's just not enough. They're not a good football team right now. Their offensive line is fucking terrible, and they can't stop anybody apparently either. So
This was good for college football, and I'll say this why. NC State had been trending in the right direction for a couple years now. They've actually won me a lot of money in the past couple years. And it's good to see one of the big 3 or 4, however you want to rank them, fall finally. Because how many years is it fucking Alabama, Clemson, Ohio State? It's finally nice to be like, all right, good. One of them's out. Let's get a new team in there. Give them a shot.
yeah, it's nice.
Awesome at home, so fans got to rush the field. Good for them. That's one of those moments in college they'll never forget. That's super cool to do. But super disappointed with Clemson. Like, I don't know if DJ's doing too many Fansville Dr. Pepper commercials, but 111 yards, like that's ridiculous. And
90 of them to Ross.
Yeah, and 8 of his 12, Blaine, like you said, 8 of his 12 completions were to Ross. So you take that motherfucker out, like ain't nobody like that offense is ridiculous.
No, Justin Ross is a first round wide receiver.
He's a first rounder, and the rest of their team skill players aren't very good.
They suck.
Shipley gets hurt in this game as well. He goes down the knee.
Yeah.
I haven't seen the severity of it, but that was a huge loss at the end of that game as well.
He hasn't been good either, though.
He had a good game, though. This was kind of a big game for him. He looked good in this game. He got in the end zone. I thought he ran the ball the best he's done all year. So yeah. I did think he came out a little bit in this game. And as a freshman, you don't expect him to hit the ground running. But I agree. To me, it's like books closed on Clemson this year. Like, see ya. We'll come back to it next year. But they don't deserve the time for us or the energy from us anymore that we've given them in the past. So hats off to NC State. That's a big ACC win, and the ACC continues to be dog shit. So
dog shit.
We'll see how it goes. Michigan, they hold on to beat Rutgers. They were running away with this game early. They end up winning 20-13 in a very close game. Rutgers looked good in the second half. Me and Kate Morgan have been on Rutgers really heavy this whole season, and they proved it. They covered again. They've been a cover team all year. Shiano has these boys rolling. Credit to Michigan, I guess, winning this game. I think they're not getting as much credit for winning, even though they did, but they kind of had to hold on late. What was your guys' thoughts on this game in Michigan in general?
My one concern with the game, because Rutgers is trending. They're great. They're covering. They're a fun football team to watch right now. My concern is with Michigan is 0 second half points.
Yeah.
0. And, I've been kind of high on Michigan the last couple weeks. I like, their chance against Ohio State and even Penn State. But if you can't score in the second half, you're going to get blown out.
Yeah, I took CY and K Morg's advice. Love Rutgers past couple weeks, man. One of my favorites. And I thought 20.5, I was like, give me all that action. I love that. And like B said, to get shut out in the second half, Michigan rolled in the first half. They looked good. And Rutgers was going for it on fourth down a lot at midfield because, it's one of those games. Coach thinks, hey, we got to punch it in. We got to do some things just to keep up with the big boys. And they were down a lot at halftime, and I was worried that 20.5 would come in bite me in the ass. But, dude, they shut them out in the second half. I'm more worried if I'm Michigan than Rutgers. You go into the big house, you play like that. That's a good – I'm not one for moral victories in sports, but, hang your hat a little bit as a little program coming into the big house. But if I'm Michigan, I'm worried. Like, your boys just let up in the second half like that after the big lead and they get punched. And, that ain't – it's had a Big Ten feel to it if you watch the game.
Yeah.
It's kind of a knockdown, drag out, go for it a couple fourths. Like, you get the ball at midfield when they go for it on fourth down, as Rutgers does. Like, Michigan, you go down, you got to punch that in. You got to hammer them and stay on top of them. And they didn't do that. They could have been a bigger blowout, but I'd be real worried if I'm that Michigan coaching staff. You got to fix that up.
Michigan, to me, is the hardest team in the country to read right now because we don't know how good they are. They're undefeated. They haven't played great teams, but they've looked good. They've looked susceptible at times as well. They're tough. They're going to play some good teams going forward. I think the next few weeks they're going to get into that Big Ten play and have to play some really good teams. So I'm interested to see how good Michigan really is. Regardless, though, they hold on to beat a Rutgers team who I think is better than people give them credit for.
Yeah.
Another Big Ten matchup, we had Michigan State, who we've been kind of trending on last few weeks. They beat Nebraska in overtime. They don't cover. They win by 3, which was absolutely fucking brutal. Michigan State's Michigan State. They still continue to win games. They look good. They have to go to Miami the week before and take care of business. Then they come home and they beat, and I'll say it, a Nebraska team that is better than people are giving credit for. We wrote them off really early in the year. We threw them in the trash can after that loss to Illinois in front of the whole country to open up college football. But since then, they pushed Oklahoma to the limits. They pushed Michigan State to the limits and going to overtime, who both teams are, not on the same level, but 2 pretty good teams that they could have easily won both those games. So I want to give credit to Scott Frost, and he's trying to save his job, and it looks like they're kind of getting better. They're not elite by any means, but they're getting better.
This game irritated me to the max. I like 5.5 was a fucking lock.
Yeah.
And they go to overtime, but in overtime they have a really good play. They get, within the 5-yard line, I believe.
The 3, I think.
And they, I think one run play doesn't work out. Looks really bad play call. And they kick a field goal. I'm like, I get it. Like, you want to win the game. 5.5 was such a lock. Like, just fucking score. Oh my God. But
yeah, I had them 3.5, so
yeah.
that hurt even more.
Oh,
Vegas always gets their damn money, bro. But along the lines with UCY, I wrote them off a long time ago. I thought Frost ain't the guy. They ain't performing. Let him finish the season, I guess, and then he's out. But the past couple weeks, they've looked ready to go. They looked a lot better. Like you said, they took Oklahoma to the limit, who I'm still suspect on, but still, that's a good team to take the limit. And then they took a very good Michigan State team to the limit on the road. Again, hard to do. It gets cold up there in Michigan on the road. Martinez killed me. I had him at 3.5. Like I said, I had Michigan State 3.5. The 5th Martinez to be there in the past 15 years, I have no idea. They just keep reporting.
Yeah, they just keep
quarterbacks Martinez, but he looked in command of the offense. He took a big hit early, and he had to come out for maybe a series or a couple plays. And I thought, perfect, Michigan State's going to roll now. But that dude's tough, man. He came back. He made a lot of good decisions that kept him in that game. And like you said, they beat Oklahoma or squeaked this one out. And Scott Frost's narrative is totally different. Those are 2 big wins and might have saved him another year or even 2 with those boosters, but we'll see. I
still don't think his job's completely gone yet. I still think he's obviously on the hot seat, but if he can win a few games and look, they can look like they have been now, he has a chance to come back. And I think K. Morg mentioned that last week. It's, they look better if he continues to kind of do how he's doing. We'll have a chance. They have a chance. So moving on, Oklahoma. Oklahoma looks like absolute ass. Oklahoma barely squeaks it out against West Virginia. He gets booed. Rattler gets booed at home. What do we got?
They're not good.
Yeah.
They can't run the ball, and Rattler has no pocket presence. He's just not like the quarterbacks that Riley's had in the past. He's got to be outside the pocket. He's kind of got to be fancy with it. But when they rush 4 and don't blitz him, and they drop 7 in coverage, like, he's terrible. He can't read a defense. He has no pocket presence, and he's only good when they blitz him. He gets outside and throws some crazy shit.
Yeah,
so it is what it is.
He's struggling. I think he had a really good answer to it when they asked him about it post game. He didn't throw the Oklahoma fans under the bus, which he really easily could have for them ripping him. But he's just not good right now, and they're not good right now. I had really high hopes for this team. They were one of my teams in the playoffs. Based on the way they're playing now, there's no chance unless that offense figures it out soon.
Yeah.
I think that the defense looked better this week from Oklahoma, which I was very concerned with the first 2-3 weeks of the season. Don't get me wrong. It's not the West Virginia of old with Tavon Austin just running all over the damn field and collecting 400 yards. But they still held them in check and kept them in the game. That's really what kept them in the game. If West Virginia's get able to convert on 2 or 3 of those possessions, they lose this game. And Rattler has not looked good, like you guys touched. There's no reason to beat a dead horse. But I think this Oklahoma team is lucky to be 4-0. I mean, Tulane took them to the brink after a big lead on week 1. Nebraska takes them to the wire. Now West Virginia, they're just playing on very thin ice. And you have a couple teams coming up that, especially later in the year, when especially they're a decent team with nothing to play for, it could ruin your playoff chances. So,
yeah, I mean, we just got to see more at Oklahoma, and who knows what we're going to see out of them the rest of the year when they play some better teams. They really haven't played anyone great. They really haven't had a decisive victory besides week 2 when they played the small school. But they're still undefeated, so they still got a chance. They're still Oklahoma. They're still ranked in the top 5. So you got to give credit to that, I guess. But I'm still leery on it as well, as you guys said. North Carolina, they get smoked by Georgia Tech, 45-22. North Carolina, I had on everything back end. Absolutely destroyed me on everything. It was tough. This was tough. Sam Howell, this was very, very tough game for Sam Howell and his draft stock, I believe. He was trending back in that right direction as a high first rounder. I don't know what this game does to him, but it's not good.
I'm not talking about North Carolina anymore. Rest of the year. Don't ask me. I swear to God.
Your squad.
Yeah.
That's it. I'm done.
I thought this was going to be the prove it year for Sam Howell. You had so many weapons last year that, a decent quarterback could look good in that kind of system when you have that many weapons that they got to defend. And obviously those guys are gone now. And I think it's really showing. He shows some line issues too. But he doesn't look the same, man. He doesn't look the same with all that talent out wide helping. And Georgia Tech, usually a decent defensive team, but dude, they bottled them up. Them up. And it took a late score in the 3rd, if I remember right, and the 4th to even make it respectable-ish, because otherwise they would have been completely blown out.
And Georgia Tech is still in that rebuild mode.
Yeah.
They're not back to being what they were by any means, and they're not a great football team. They lose all the time. So I just don't understand how North Carolina can be so up and down. I thought week 1 was maybe a fluke, and we talked about it last week. Did we write them off too early? But no, I mean, they're just not good. North Carolina's not a good football team. B mentioned it. There's no point to really talk about them the rest of the year. Sam Howell draft stock plummeted. North Carolina's season plummeted. Yeah, that's a wrap for them. Speaking of wraps and speaking of embarrassing fucking losses, USC loses at home to Oregon State. Gets absolutely fucking annihilated. 45-27. They said the last time that Oregon State won in Southern Cal, we hadn't landed on the moon yet.
Yeah.
So there's that. Embarrassing loss by SC. Now, one of those kids that start for Oregon State could start for SC. Just a true gut punch, embarrassing moment.
Yeah. I mean, last week I really gave it all to Jackson Dart and, his connection in that game. He played great and they won big. Fast forward this week, Slovis back in the game. I'm not going to beat this dead horse. He's not it. He threw 3 picks, but that wasn't the problem. SC gave up 200 and something rushing yards against Oregon State at home. Defense is bad. So it is what it is there. I mean, that's a wrap on SC.
It's a wrap.
So
it's a wrap.
I'm so done with SC. I should have learned my lesson. What was it, last or 2 weeks before that? But I made some money early in the early games, and I was like, oh, SC, Oregon State, like you said, won there in God knows how many years. Let's roll. And they burned me so hard. And to like they said, they had 3 guys, Oregon State, over 50 yards rushing with the top guy at 158. Like it. Wow. Anytime they hand the ball off, I had to stop watching after the first half. But in the first half alone, anytime they handed the ball off, it was easily a first down or 9 yards. It was unbelievable. Every play was 2nd and 1, 2nd and 2. The quarterback only had to throw it 19 times, and he had 4 touchdowns. because they would just run, can't stop it, run, can't stop it, run, can't stop it. Play action. Here's a little dump off touchdown.
Poor SC fans. They
I should have
just
known better with Slovis. I should have known better to put
Yeah.
any money on Slovis. That there is 3 picks, and yeah, he throws for 355, but all that's late and trying to catch up, and there are 3 picks. So
yeah, that's like when CJ Stroud lost to Oregon. Your yards don't matter.
and don't get me wrong, it makes me so happy as a Notre Dame fan to just see them be terrible. But at the same time, and I've heard Cam Works say it, it's better for college football when that rivalry is heated.
It's
It
true.
is better when SC is good. College football is better when SC is good.
Yep.
And we won't beat a dead horse because we've expressed our disappointment in SC all year. Their run defense is horrendous. Their defense in general is horrendous. They need absolute big time changes in that program. And I think we're going to see them. I think those changes are coming soon. But regardless, goodbye USC. They're toast. Smell you later. We won't talk about them much on this podcast more moving forward. So that is our week 4 recap of college football. Before we get into the week 5 games, what a bunch of upsets. What a bunch of upsets.
Yeah. Last week's theme was beatable. And when you become beatable, you get upset it. So we're trending. College through 4 weeks has been fucking insane.
Anarchy.
Like I can't complete anarchy. I can't get over how crazy it is every week. So that's just kind of what it is this year.
Yep. All right, so moving on, week 5. What a massive slate of games we have this week. Absolutely unbelievable. We got ranked opponents against ranked opponents. We got top 10 matchups. We got big storylines, you name it. So let's get into it. Number 5, Iowa at Maryland. Maryland sneaky good with Tua's little brother. They're coached well. And then Iowa. Iowa's number 5 team in the country. They come in with a nasty defense. They didn't play great the last week or two. People are still kind of doubting them. Who do you got in this game, B?
Who I want's a little different. I'm not going to go against Iowa in that defense. I don't think Maryland has the firepower to beat them. But if we're going to Maryland, Ohio State next week,
We are.
Maryland at 4-0 would be fucking sweet.
That would be fun. I was favored by 3 on the road. Who you taking this one, Danny?
You know I love a home dog. I love
Home
home
dog.
dogs, and I think I was due for an upset, man. I mean, I watched some of that against Colorado State, and I was not impressed. Like the defense is there, we know that, but the offense is just so bad. Like to only win by 10 against Colorado State's a dumpster fire. Like, come on. And like you said, little Tua, he's got over 1,300 yards already. I mean, he's one of those guys that on one of these games, isn't this on a Friday too?
Yeah,
it's on a Friday. It's not even on like Saturday. It's a
Friday night.
Short kind of week. He's running around the field. He's tossing it. They might get punched in the mouth finally. So, I'm going to roll with it on the week that we had last week, the upsets. I think Maryland finally gets it done.
Wow.
I've been on Iowa for most of the year, but this smells very upsetty to me.
Yeah.
Like it smells upsetty. I think people are going to hammer Iowa at -3. I kind of like Maryland to pull an upset here. They have a really good offense, like Danny mentioned, and they're really well coached. So I'm leaning towards Iowa, but I think that I'm getting less and less confident as the minutes go by up to game time Friday
It's
night.
good for college football. Okay.
Yeah.
It's great for college football.
It's great.
Number 5 in Iowa, that's way too damn high. Stay in your 12 to 18. Don't get up in the 5. Get the fuck out of my face.
All right. SEC powerhouse matchup.
Ooh.
Number 8, Arkansas. They go up to 8 after the win against Texas A&M. Travel to Georgia to take on the Bulldogs.
Ooh.
What a game. What a game. And I'm actually extremely surprised at the spread in this game because I thought it'd be a lot closer. The odds makers are not giving Arkansas any credit. It has Georgia favored by 18.5. Who do we like? Does Arkansas have a chance? What do you got?
They have no chance.
Wow.
Best team in college football. I think that right there. I think 3 scores is very, very doable. If it's a closer game, it's because they throw a couple unnecessary picks or something like that, but they should blow this team out. I'm not saying Arkansas is fake. I'm just saying Georgia's that good.
Yeah, the only thing that scares me always with these SEC games, I mean, it's 9 o'clock our time. It's a noon start there. These are two decent defenses. I mean, obviously Georgia's defense is unreal. I can totally see this being a little bit of a struggle on their early window for the SEC games. Like they 10-3 against Clemson, which at the time, that game was like, all right, great win, right?
Yeah.
How you look at Clemson now, you're like, God, like
Well, hey, your
up.
only score was a pick six.
Yeah, like
So I get it. Yeah,
that's a little bit, it worries me. And then you play UAB, South Carolina, and Vanderbilt, who you just destroy as you should.
Those are like confidence builders for a team that is stacked with talent.
They do, and we know Georgia's defense is going to show up. It's just is that offense going to show up? And I think 18.5. That's like if you said if it's the right Georgia offense, easily doable. But I don't know. That's a lot.
I think Georgia wins this game. I don't know if they have enough offensive firepower to win by 18.5 and cover those points. That's a lot of points against a top 10 team.
Yeah.
If Arkansas really is the number 8 team in the country, maybe they're not. Maybe that's just a reflection of their performance last week. But
people are hammering the 18.5. They're loving it. So I
mean, I like the 18.5. I've taken it, but Georgia's going to win this game. Just a matter of how much, and if Arkansas can control the ball and actually have that run game, and how banged up their quarterback actually is.
Yeah.
All right. Game of the week. Podcast game of the year. Ooh. We've been talking about the Cincinnati Bearcats for 2 years now. I'm very disappointed in Cam Work for not being on this episode for this. He's a Notre Dame fan. He is a member of this podcast who is huge Cincinnati Bearcat football fans. We've been advocates for the Bearcat football program. Red Helmets. Notre Dame is a 2-point dog at home against Cincinnati. I was absolutely shook when I saw this line. Not only is Notre Dame not favored at home, like that's just crazy to me. Like that's just absolutely insane. I thought Notre Dame would be somewhere at a 4.5-point favorite in this. I'm 6 points off. So what am I missing? B, what do you got? What is your breakdown for the Cincinnati side of the game? How do they win this game?
How they win this game is if they watch the first half of the Wisconsin defensive line. Really, they get after Cohen. They sack him on third down. They hold up in the red zone and they don't allow easy touchdowns. Like drives are hard. It's a difficult game. They win in the trenches. This is how they beat Notre Dame. Because Notre Dame's offensive line, like D-Hay said, just doesn't look like a Notre Dame line. So they get after the quarterback, rush the passer. This defense, this Cincinnati defense is scary good. There's playmakers everywhere. So Cohen's gonna throw some picks. You just got to get pressure. You got to get pressure up front. And then on the offense side of the ball, Ritter's a fucking dude. He's no fucking Graham Mertz. Like, just take care of the ball, and put the ball in the end zone. If they score 28 points, they win.
All right. D-Hay, what's your key to victory for the Notre Dame side?
I got to say I'm so torn because you can't listen to this podcast and not like Cincinnati. You can't not bet them every week. I do.
Cheers for that. Every week.
It's just so bittersweet. I love home dogs, and I can never not bet against Notre Dame at home. I think their last loss was to Georgia at home like 2-3 years ago. That's the last time they lost at home. Again, the schedule isn't always there. You beat a Clemson without Trevor Lawrence, but the key to beat Cincy is you got to keep the ball out of their hands. You got to keep the ball away from Ritter. You got to run it, which teams of the past, Notre Dame, I think get it done easy. They just hammer that run. They eat up that clock, punch it in, use some defense, but their run game is abysmal. They just cannot get it done. So this is scary, especially what I don't like too is Cincinnati getting punched in the mouth last week and then getting it clicking in the second half, and that just rolls into practice next week. You get fired up for a big game. I think this is going to be a close one. Like you touched on CY, I thought ND would open at maybe 3.5 or something like that, close. But to favor Cincy coming in with touchdown Jesus looking over, that's just disrespectful.
People believe in the red helmet.
They've
been paying
I'm one of
attention.
them, but this week I hate that. I hate Ritter. I can't. Oh God, he scares the hell out of me.
See why I'm very interested what this pick is going to be.
For me, I think Notre Dame has to get out to an early lead. Cincinnati has been very bad in the first half of games this season so far.
Fair.
So I think Notre Dame has to get off to a hot start. Cincinnati can get out to the quarterback. They can really get at the quarterback because they send lots of blitz packages with a first-round corner on the outside who just shuts guys down. Notre Dame's receivers aren't very good this year. Their tight end is the best in college football. So I think you got to kind of shut that down. You shut down the run game. It makes them very one-dimensional, two-dimensional at most. So I think that's a huge key for Cincinnati. I think both teams are going to be playing the disrespect card. Notre Dame coming into this game as potential underdogs, according to Vegas. Brian Kelly's going to use that to his advantage.
Yeah.
Then Brian Kelly came out with in his interview some locker room content, some billboard material for Cincinnati, saying, we want to let these guys play big time teams. That's why we chose to play them. And I don't think he meant disrespect by it, but it came out very like we allow them to come play us type thing.
Yeah.
And Cincinnati's been having this marked down on their schedule for years. And this is the key. Everything's lining up for Cincinnati to have a chance to get in the playoffs. And it starts and ends in this game. And same with Notre Dame. The best case scenario is both these teams are ranked in the top 10 when they play each other, and they are. And, Notre Dame's coming off a decently tough victory against Wisconsin. That was a battle until late. Cincinnati had a bye week. So they've been kind of resting, getting their guys healthy. Cohen's banged up. I don't know his status.
Drew Pine, baby. Johnny Manziel 2.0. Drew Pine.
I'm rocking with the Bearcats. I gotta go.
Yeah.
I gotta go Red Helmets. Give me the Bearcats.
Here's the one thing. Like, if we didn't have this, I would be completely worried. The best man who knows that Cincinnati offense would be that D coordinator that was there. That was there last year.
True.
That's been on his mind since week one. He may be putting game plans together, but he's waiting for the Cincy, so it's going to be a good game. I'm excited.
Luke Fickell knows how to attack that defense too.
Yeah, I was going to say that. He knows exactly.
Not every day.
Yeah, he knows. So I think that goes both ways. B, who do you got?
It's Bearcats every day, rest of my life. I will bet Danny live here on Instagram, on YouTube. What do you need? What's your bet? What's your call?
I like the jersey theme. Let's stick with the jersey. You and K-Mark had it rolling.
All right. Any jersey of choice.
I like that.
Any jersey of choice. Another bet going on here. So, Danny, I think I know you're going with Notre Dame. You think it's a close game? What do you think?
I think it's a very close game. I can never pick against the Irish. I think the only time I did was in the college football playoff, and even but especially at home with the years of streak on the line. The one thing I like is they got Brian Kelly's Newt Rockne record out of the way.
Yeah.
I think that would be weighing heavy this week if they were still waiting on that. That adds a little more pressure. Like they bring the D coordinator over. I think this is the most prepared opponent he's going to have. He knows his team, but at the end of the day, it's going to come down to execution. That's what it is. I'm picking Notre Dame. I have to. I always will. But it's going to be a good game, but it scares the living hell out of me with Notre Dame.
Can't wait to watch this game.
I hope they wear the red helmets. They haven't all year. Not yet. I said they would wear it against
Indiana?
No. UCF.
Yeah, that's right. You said UCF.
Yeah, I said UCF. But if they pull it out here, that'd be sick. Red helmets, white jersey. Stop it. It's a wrap.
We gotta get K Morg's thoughts on this game because he's Bearcat Nation, but then he bleeds Irish blood. So
yeah, we'll definitely get his recap.
So moving on, that's the best game I believe of the weekend. This is the most exciting game, I believe, of the weekend. We get Lane Kiffin going in to Bama, into Tuscaloosa, to take on former boss Nick Saban and the number 1 ranked Alabama offense or team, I should say. Ole Miss looks good. They're 3-0. They're coming in as 14.5-point dogs. If you remember this game last year, it was a offensive juggernaut.
Insane.
Barn burner.
Barn burner, for sure. Matt Corral is your Heisman favorite right now. He's lighting it up. I like Ole Miss this year. I really do. I think they're a good football team. What do you got in this game, B?
Me and you have been riding Matt Corral all year. We believe in him. We like Lane Kiffin. We know all these things. It just doesn't matter.
Does it matter?
I don't think it matters. This is one of those things like, yeah, Bama was on our theme last week, beatable. Florida punched him in the mouth, hung in there. But I think that was the one. That was the one opportunity that college football nation had to get Bama down. They are going to be now more prepared, fired up at home. And I think they feel disrespected that we weren't the only ones. And it's not like we're a small podcast. Like Sports World was calling Bama beatable. So this is just a bad timing for Lane Kiffin. Like I think Bama's going to beat the shit out of him.
The first thing I'll say is the over/under opens at 80, which
I saw that.
Which might be easy money this matchup compared to last year. Like that's nuts. But I do really like Ole Miss. Matt Corral looks a lot better this year. They can put up points and in a hurry. But here's the only thing: they love that up tempo, and where up tempo teams struggle is against a defense that can get off the field. Because you go quick, you're 3 and out in 12 seconds, and now Alabama has the ball again. This is just one of those things. I think it's going to be a shootout again. But this just has one of those feels that Alabama's the older brother. And no matter how talented Ole Miss is and how many punches they throw, that big brother just puts little brother down. And if this was not in Tuscaloosa, I would like Ole Miss a little more. I honestly would. I think they could have a little bit of better shot. But in Tuscaloosa with Nick Saban, Young goes crazy. I think Alabama gets it done. I don't know if they cover 14.5. That's still a lot of points. I can see Ole Miss covering late, with a late touchdown, and, bring it within fucking 13, 10, whatever. But I think Alabama gets it done.
It scares me that you guys are so high on Alabama in this game because I'm super high on Alabama in this game. And I love Ole Miss.
That was interesting.
Because how many times, though, have we seen leading Heisman race winner going in to play Nick Saban? It's just his defining moment. And Nick Saban just fucking buries the guy.
Buries him.
Buries him. I mean, the only exception was Joe Burrow that year, and LSU was so much better than Bama. That was it. And it was still a good game. Like, it was a high-scoring affair.
Yeah.
I just don't know if Matt Carroll could do that. I like Bama.
He doesn't have Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, so
that's true.
I like Bama. I like the points. I like Ole Miss. Like I said, I'm a Lane Kiffin guy. I'm riding with Lane Kiffin, but I think too much Bama. They're here, like B said, they're hearing all the negative stuff talked about them. They come out and they put on a show this week. All right. Next game on the docket, we have Oklahoma, who we have no idea what the fuck they are, right? They're 4-0. We can't figure them out. They're barely winning games. They're a 10.5-point favorite on the road at Kansas State. Kansas State lost their quarterback, but they continued to play decent. They lost at Oklahoma State last week. I had Kansas State to cover that game. Kansas State is solid, but they're not playing as well. They didn't play as well against the best team they played, which was scary to me. I don't know what to think of this game. I have no idea. If I had to pick, I'm taking Kansas State in the points again. Maybe. I'm staying away from it. D-Hey, who do you like?
Yeah, I'm with you. Points-wise, I'd stay away just because we don't know which Oklahoma shows up. I figure this is the week that they finally figure it out after it's been close. They get them on.
What about last week?
One of these weeks has got to hit, right? So I'm still staying away. I'm staying away from this game. I think Oklahoma gets it done. Like you said, Kansas State, they finally faced an opponent. They had a good win, which we thought at the time was Stanford, but we know how bad Stanford is now. And then they play Southern Illinois Salukis, like, get the hell out of here, Nevada. And then they did not look good against Oklahoma State. So had they looked better against Oklahoma State, I'd feel a little better, but I'm staying away. I think Oklahoma gets it done. But who knows on the spread with this Oklahoma team. So I'm staying, not touching it.
Hey,
2 weeks ago, I would have said Kansas State wins the game.
Yeah.
But you guys, like you guys touched on, last week's performance was a little hazy. I wouldn't touch this with a fucking 10-inch blade. So but pick the winner. I think Oklahoma squeaks one out again. Like, I don't think Kansas State's equipped to kind of beat this football team.
all right, moving on. We have number 10, Florida, traveling to Kentucky. Florida's 8.5-point favorites. Me and K Morgan have really been on Kentucky this year. Florida's kind of turning it around ever since that Bama game. They looked good against Tennessee last week. This is a tough game for me because I was really against Florida all year. I think Florida's playing their best football right now, but I do like Kentucky. I'm going to take Kentucky to cover. I think they're a very good football team. They're 4-0. They should be ranked in the top 25. Florida's a very good team. I think Florida actually wins the game, but I think it's close. B, who do you got?
I like Florida 8.5. Usually this is a tough place to play actually, but Florida's used to it. They're getting the ranking, the respect back. They lost, all their weapons. They lost their quarterback, and they didn't get a good preseason ranking. But they've earned it back. They're in the spotlight. I think they go and win by 2 touchdowns.
Okay.
I think I gotta go with B on this one. I've never been huge on Florida. They're just so hyped up every year, and they always let us down. But like you touched on, I think they're starting to play their best football. You lose a close one to Bama, that could easily come back in a Florida Tennessee game and let Tennessee smack you. But they pushed them around last week. I think they're playing a good game. The 8.5 does worry me a little bit. Like you talked about, I've liked Kentucky, but I'll take Florida to cover, and I think they win the game, obviously.
We got a Big 12 powerhouse matchup. We got number 21 Baylor, 4-0 at 4-0 Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State just took care of Kansas State in a undefeated matchup where Baylor took care of Iowa State at home. Coming off 2 big wins, both these programs. Who do you got in this game, D-Hay?
Man, if you had asked me last week, I think Oklahoma gets it, but I really like Baylor, and they looked good last week. Oklahoma State, they do what I like about Oklahoma State. They go to Boise State, which is up on the Smurf turf, and they beat them. That's a tough place to go across. Oklahoma up to Idaho and beat them. They had a good win against Kansas State, but Baylor looked good, man. Like you said, they were able to take all the punches that Iowa State threw back, and in that kind of game, you expect the ranked team to overpower them in the end, but they hung with it. I like Baylor. I like Baylor here. 47.5. I think both teams can get to that. I think they're going to be a good amount of points in this game, and I think Baylor gets it done on the road.
Me?
Both teams have looked great. They both get a top 25 ranking as deserved at a 4-0. I think it's more like both teams trending up, have good programs going. It's kind of a coin flip to me, and the coin flip's always a home team. I like Oklahoma State 3.5. I probably wouldn't bet it. I'd just go to money line and bet that. I'd probably just bet the home game.
I do think whoever loses this game, this is like a crossroad, and whoever loses is going down, and the other person keeps going up.
Yeah, I like that.
I agree. I like both these teams. I don't know who. I think it's coin flip, like B said. If I had to pick, I think I would go with Oklahoma State. They have a little more offensive firepower. I think both these defenses are pretty good. I'm staying away from it, but if I had to pick, I'm going to Oklahoma State. All right, moving on. We have 4-0 Boston College traveling to Clemson. Clemson's struggling. Boston College looks great. Dracovic is out for the year, which would have made this game a lot more interesting. But regardless, they're still 4-0. They're winning good games. B, who do you got?
I don't want to touch on it too much just because Clemson just disappointing, but Clemson.
You think they win this game?
Yeah, I wouldn't touch 14 points ever. But yeah, I think they win this game. I don't
It's a
think
lot of points.
Dabo's gonna lose at home like that.
A
Uh,
Not
lot
to
of points.
BC. Not to BC.
yeah, this is just it's such a weird game. Like Clemson's down, like no way they lose after back to back, right? At home, but who
But
knows
they
what the Clemson
could.
team shows up, right? Like Cody said, if Jurkovic's healthy and playing, I think I'm hammering BC. I love Jurkovic. I wish he would never left Notre Dame.
Yeah.
But him out for the year is kind of the other wild card. I'm like, I don't really know. You know, they barely squeaked by a Mizzou team, and you know they give up 28 to UMass. It's like, what is this team? I wouldn't touch it, but like B said, I got to take Clemson at home.
Yeah, I'm not touching this game at all. Clemson's going to bounce back. I think they win this game. I think they cover. But regardless, BC is an underrated football program, even without their quarterback. Give me Clemson. They'll probably lose based on me picking them, but I'll take Clemson in the points here. All right, last game on the docket, Pac-12 matchup. We got Arizona State traveling to UCLA. Arizona State's 3-1. UCLA's 3-1. UCLA's a coin flip. It's 3-point favorites at home. The title's up for the second best team in the pack. We don't know, and I think this game's going to define that. Both these teams have a chance to be that second best team. UCLA was early; they dropped against Fresno State. Turned out to be okay. Arizona State dropped a clunker to BYU. Who do you like in this game? B, we'll start with you.
This one's tough.
Yeah.
I like UCLA. They dropped one, which kind of hurt the pack, or hurt them and their chances. They're just when they got right there on that ranking that they needed, they lose. But I think they could win out this season and actually still win the pack. And this game could show it.
Yeah, this is a tough game, man. Like Arizona State's been trending in the right direction the last couple of years. UCLA is starting to look like they figured it out. This would be such another like Chip Kelly game to freaking lose. But like you said, it's such a coin flip. I think I'm taking the Bruins at home, and hopefully they get it done, man. Like, but I can 100% see Arizona State pulling this out, but I'll roll with the Bruins at home.
It's a tough game. It's a very tough game. I'm going to take UCLA as well. I don't believe in Jaden Daniels yet. He just hasn't proven enough in this time to be consistent to really take a team on his back. DTR as well. I don't really trust him as well, but that running game is electric for UCLA. I think they win this game. I still think they're a very good football team. All right, moving on to our free picks. I'm sorry for last week. I'll just start by that. I am absolutely sorry. It was the worst week ever of picks I've had, ever in college football. College football, I went 2-10 for you guys.
Ooh, I'm
Oh,
down, guys. I'm down. I'm down,
My-
guys. We're good. Hey, we're surviving here. Keep going.
All right. Minus 11.5 units. So bad week in college football. Bad week. Only winners I gave you were Wake Forest. App State should have been a winner, but we'll say that for another day. Guy falls down on the 3-yard line.
Brutal.
Ooh.
Brutal.
And then I gave you Rutgers. But I hate the board so much this week. I love it. Right? I hate it so much. I'm letting it speak to me. I actually love it. So I got some plays. I came into it. I'm like, I got to stop giving so many fucking plays. That's what it is. Too many plays. I
Yeah.
looked up. I still have double-digit plays.
Oh my
So,
God, dude.
Here's what it is. Write it down. Take a note. There's no way I'm not positive this week. I'm telling you that right now. No way. All right. I'm going under 48.5. Arkansas at Georgia. Two elite defenses. I think it's a low-scoring game. Give me the under 48.5 right there. Michigan, +1 at Wisconsin. I think Wisconsin's beaten down. They're bloodied. They have no quarterback. I think Mertz has to get benched this week. Michigan goes in, takes care of business. It's a pick 'em pretty much.
Yeah.
I'm on the Wake Forest train now. You know, they've been playing well lately. They are favored by 6.5 against Louisville at home. I don't think Louisville is a very good game or very good team. They've been winning some games against bad opponents. I'm not buying into them yet. I like Wake. I think they have good quarterback play. They have an old defense. Give me Wake Forest in this game. I like the under in Notre Dame and Cincinnati. 50.5. I think both defenses are trending in the right way. Notre Dame's defense played really well against Wisconsin. Cincinnati's defense is elite, especially if Cohen is not.
And a pick six burned you on this last week.
Yes.
So
That game should have went under. It was under the whole fucking time.
yeah.
Don't give me last week it's done.
Life's too short to bet the under, baby.
Life's too short.
Under in this game.
Over.
You want an over? Take the over. Tulane and ECU. East
Ooh.
Carolina and Tulane, 64.5. Tulane can absolutely light the scoreboard.
Blow it
East
up.
Carolina's defense sucks. Both these defenses suck. This is a actual barn burner. 64.5. Take the over in Tulane and East Carolina. Army. Been on the Army train lately too. 7.5 at Ball State. Ball State's a terrible football team. Army's passing offense is really good. Give me Army minus 7.5.
That's absolutely
That's
a lock.
a lock. Yeah.
Kentucky +8. I think they cover against Florida. I'm not buying into Florida. We talked about it early. Give me the Kentucky. Don't lay a lot on this. I still think Florida might be the play later on. I wrote this coming into it. Now I'm kind of leaning, but I'll take Kentucky. I've been at Kentucky all year. They're at home. Give me Kentucky.
I like the hazard that you put on these picks now after a bad last week. I like that.
Hey,
It's
just
not
that
too
one.
much, but
Hey, like 1 unit, just to see, just to see it.
I'm on the opposite of what D. Hayes said earlier in the podcast. I like the under in Oklahoma State and Baylor. They're not traditional teams of Baylor and Oklahoma State where it's offensive firepower. If there's a defense, there's 11 guys on the defense, then that's good. It's not that way this year. Both these defenses are very, very good, especially Baylor's. And Oklahoma State's holding their own on the defensive end. It's only 47.5, but I still like the under. They control the clock. They keep that game nitty-gritty in the trenches. Give me the under there.
you know where that one burns you? Overtime. Telling you.
Why do you fucking say that? Why even
Overtime.
fucking say it?
Touchdown, blown.
Michigan State, minus 17.5 against Western Kentucky. Michigan State blows this team out. Western Kentucky is not horrible. I think Michigan State can really score. I don't think Western Kentucky can keep up with them. Lay the points, Michigan State. I'm going to take Boston College plus 15.5. I know I said it. I know I like Clemson to win this game earlier, but Boston College is too good of a team to just go in there and get rolled over. This is what they're looking for all year, regardless of how Clemson is. It's a top 25 team for them. This really put them on the map. I think Clemson wins. I think Boston College covers. And lastly, give me some Nebraska. Nebraska minus 11.5 against Northwestern. Northwestern's fucking awful. It's more about Northwestern than it is against Nebraska. Nebraska has proven, though, that they're an okay team and they need to find some wins now. Moral victories are over against two really good teams. Now go in and get some victories. 11.5, market. Give me Nebraska. Those are your free CY picks. I think will be positive.
I have one. I usually don't add my 2 cents into this when you and K Moore duel back your college picks. But at 8 p.m. on a Saturday night when you're down from Cody's picks, go fucking hammer Fresno State minus 11 against Hawaii.
Don't bet against Hawaii on the rock. I don't care.
Minus 11, Fresno State. They win by 28.
Smells like a rat trap. Smells like a rat trap game.
I love it.
Rat trap game. All right. That's college football episode this week. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for special guest D. Haley. And D. Cincy, baby. Here we go. Who's going where? All right. Thanks for tuning in. Like and subscribe on YouTube. Share this post on Instagram. We appreciate all you guys and following us between two platforms. We'll be back in studio next week.